Hello, third grade, and welcome to our reading skill for today. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be learning about figurative language and how that can make reading interesting and where we use it in our own lives. Now, first we have to know what it is. Now, on your class kick, you have a notes page, so please make sure that you have minimized the video and you are looking at the notes page as we are following along. Please type in the meaning as we are going through these. So literal meaning is something that means exactly what you say. So maybe you say, it's raining. That would literally mean that it's raining outside. Literal meaning means exactly what it says. Go ahead, pause the video if you need to write this out. The opposite of literal meaning is figurative meaning. That is the meaning that is different than what the words say. So for example, someone might say that it's raining cats and dogs outside. Does that mean that cats and dogs are falling from the sky outside? No, that is figurative meaning. So that means that it's actually just raining really hard outside. That is called figurative language. Go ahead and I want you to draw a picture of each one of these so you can see that figurative language can kind of look pretty silly. Go ahead, pause the video so you can draw a picture of each one, that it's raining or it's raining cats and dogs. Now, in our next couple of videos, we're going to be learning about the different kinds of figurative language. The first one we're going to look at today is called an idiom. And idioms are simply phrases that mean something different than what you say. They are general figurative language. For example, it might be, it's raining cats and dogs, but the literal meaning just means that it's raining very hard. Now, if we broke apart an idiom, we would see that each word has a different meaning, but when it's all combined, it has a figurative meaning. So an idiom, like we said, is a phrase whose meaning cannot be interpreted literally. The group of words together has a completely different meaning than the individual words. So it has the word rain, cats, and dogs. But when we put that all together, it means that it's raining very heavily or a lot of rain is falling at one time. For our activity, we have two parts. This first part, we will be practicing changing figurative language into literal language, writing what it actually means. And then you will have a separate activity. But right now, I want everyone to go to Class Kick and meet me on the reading skill page, the list of idioms on it. Now I will do some of these with you and then you will do a couple on your own. Let's go ahead and begin. Well, sighed Jimmy, I forgot my homework. I guess it is time to tell my teacher and face the music. What does this mean? Now, at the beginning of this, of third grade, we learned about context clues. Now, we use context clues to help us understand the literal meaning of these words. So instead of it meaning turning your head and looking at the music, let's look deeper and see what this could mean. I guess it is time to tell my teacher and face the music. Well, maybe that means facing the consequences or taking the consequences. So I'm sure if he went up to his teacher and said he didn't have his homework, the teacher wouldn't sing. They'd probably tell him that he needs to do it again or something else. Let's move on to the second part. Dad had a hard time figuring out how to use his new smartphone. "You can't teach an old dog new tricks," he said after unsuccessfully trying to change his ringtone for 30 minutes. Now, Dad was having a hard time using his phone. So what do you think "you can't teach an old dog new tricks" literally means? Think about it for a second. It literally means that it's hard to learn new things when you're older. And his dad was saying that he was struggling to try to change his ringtone. But he used the figurative language, the idiom. Let's move on to number 3. Jamie wants to sign up for basketball, chess club, speech team, and the school newspaper for next year. Her mother said, "Make sure you don't bite off more than you can chew." So that doesn't mean that she's going to bite something off with her mouth. If she's trying to do a lot of things, her mom is probably telling her to slow down and not get overwhelmed with everything she's doing. So make sure you don't bite off more than you can chew literally means take it slow and not do too much. Go ahead and type that out. Now this is the last one we're going to do together. For the 5th and 6th one, you'll be doing on your own. We already did one earlier, so hopefully you remember what that means, or you can go back in the video and look at it. Penny complained to her dad that her science project would take her all weekend to finish. Her dad said, "Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day." Now Dad is giving Penny some advice about how to spend her time. So sometimes really cool things take a lot of time. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's a really, really big city, and it took a long time to build. So he's trying to use figurative language to tell her that even though it's gonna take a long time, it's gonna end up really cool. So Rome wasn't built in a day means some things take time. After you figure out the literal meaning of these two idioms, then you can move on to the next part. Now there are so many idioms in the English language, and it's important to start practicing them now, and we'll be looking through them throughout the weeks. But here's a quick match, and I want you to try to use context clues to match them up. So under the weather, maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't. If you have ever heard someone say, "Man, I don't feel very good, I feel under the weather," choose the idiom on the literal meaning on the side that matches the idiom. If you need your parents to help you with these, they probably know some of these as well. If you speak a different language at home, maybe you speak Spanish, I want you to add maybe some idioms or figurative language that you use at your home. Here are a couple of examples of some that are in Spanish that you may have heard your parents say. Cuando se cierre una puerta, se abre una ventana. That doesn't really mean that when you close a door, you got to open a door. Open a window. That might mean that there are more opportunities along the way. It has a different meaning than what it says. So go ahead and ask your parents if there is some idioms or figurative language that they use. Maybe you can listen to it in your conversations at home as well. Remember, you can add those at the bottom of the page. Once you're finished typing in your letters, make sure you click the arrow tool and type in only the letter, not the whole saying. Then you will be complete for this part of our reading skill.